So we are going to spend an hour and a half with Barbara Farmer and Michael Siegel from Braver Angels Southern California chapter, and I'd like to bring them forward. I want to thank them for all the work they've done to make this workshop accessible to us. They have worked very hard, and I think you're in for a transformative experience. So why don't I fade off the screen and we'll turn it over to Barbara and Michael. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm Barbara Farmer, and I'm so happy to be here, part of the presentation today. I actually am a geriatric care manager, so I'm really familiar with the village movement, and I'm a big fan of what you do to help people stay as independent as possible as they age. I think it is a great benefit to them. And I'm here with Michael Siegel. We are both California state coordinators. The way Braver Angels works, for whatever position you're in, there is a blue-leaning position and a red-leaning position, blue being more liberal, red being more conservative. And so Michael and I are that pair. Even though Michael is wearing a red shirt today, that belies his leaning. Braver Angels is a nonprofit organization. It was founded right after the 2016 election. We all remember that election, to bridge the divide between those on opposite sides of the political aisle. So we're here to tell you a little bit about what Braver Angels does, and we're going to share some communication skills that may help you when you're talking to someone you disagree with. And their skills we emphasize can be used to diffuse polarization in any arena. And there's skills that, you know, as you work with people, you can share some of the skills with them as well. It would be helpful to have paper and something to write with for exercises later in the presentation, or you know, you can take notes electronically, but just wanted to give you a heads up about that. Just a little housekeeping, probably not necessary on the second day of the event. You probably know how to do this already. Bring your attention to chat at the bottom of your Zoom screen, because there will be instructions and notes in there that you'll use in the breakout rooms later. And then later in the session, we'll have time for comments and questions. So we want to make sure everybody can raise your hand electronically. Again, that's found at the bottom of your Zoom window. You may need to roll your cursor over the bottom of the window to see those icons. And depending on your version of Zoom, you may see the hand right there at the bottom of your screen, or it may be in the reactions tab. So I'll just give everybody a second or two to take a look at their screens. Okay, so this morning we are going to cover the following. We're going to describe the current level of division in our country that's developed basically over the past 30 years. And people have used the term Cold Civil War for our current cultural and political divide. We're going to provide a brief overview of Braver Angels and then go over those communication techniques that I mentioned to help to bridge the divide between those that disagree with us. And then you're going to go to breakout rooms for mini practice sessions to try out those skills, and then we'll wrap up. Now, I want to say that this is just an introductory session. It's not going to make you completely fluent in all the skills, on those conversation skills, but it will help provide you with tools that over time can make you more effective in situations. So consider today's session to be kind of an appetizer version. So Michael and I are going to start out with a role play. And this is how conversations might go with someone you disagree with, or how they might go wrong.
Barbara, can you hear? Can you
Yeah,
hear
we
me
can hear
okay?
you.
All right, great. I just heard from the town crier that President Washington finally plans to ban the use of muskets by women. It's about time.
What do you mean it's about time? How dare he? He may have been a good general, but he has no idea about how often women are home alone with the children when you men are off hunting or at the tavern. We need to be able to protect ourselves and our home.
Washington is the father of our country. He should know what's best for our country. And he obviously thinks that women aren't safe handling muskets. I think so too.
Oh, really? Well, you and our president, for that matter, have a problem with thinking right alongside the village idiot.
Barbara, you just proved to me that women are too emotional to handle a musket.
Okay, so that's how conversations tend to go in our political climate today. They tend to go downhill. So we're going to go to the next slide and see if some of these statements sound familiar to you. Take a look at them. Does anyone have one of those experiences? If you haven't experienced some of that, then you probably, all your friends and family probably live in the same bubble. You probably all agree, but there are people out there that don't agree. Between mainstream media and social media, we have all grown not only to see the world differently from each other, but also in the extremes. Furthermore, it's human nature, we tend to gravitate to the information sources that reinforce what we already believe, thereby strengthening the divide. In some cases, this can have a devastating impact on families and friendships, where different opinions on the issues and different worldviews can destroy current and past relationships and even inhibit establishing new relationships. Anybody have the experience at having a Thanksgiving dinner go downhill over the last several years? Or maybe not being invited to Thanksgiving dinner. It has happened to many, many people. Now look at these statements. Any of these statements apply to you? So polarization isn't present only when talking to someone who disagrees with you. It can actually rear its head even when talking to someone that agrees with you. When you're with friends that you agree with, does the negative rhetoric about those people on the other side ramp up a notch? Do you laugh at the naive creatures that believe those conspiracy theories? Or do you get angry at all those people that want government handouts? Well, welcome to the human race. It is your inner polarizer at work. It's really the tribal nature of how our brains work, and it applies to both sides of the aisle, and it applies wherever there is division. You get that feeling that the person that disagrees with you is not just disagreeing with you, but that person is a threat. And that's where we are in our political climate right now. Michael?
Now I'm going to describe the progression of polarization over the years. Polarization is affecting family relationships and many other areas of our lives. The percent of families that would be happy if one of their members married someone from the opposite political party has jumped from less than 5% in 1960 to greater than 35 to 45% in 2018. There has been, next slide, please. There has been a significant increase of unfavorable views of the other party from 1994, when it was 20%, to 2020, now being a whopping 80%. Next slide. And of course, as the electorate became more polarized, so did their representatives at the national level, where over the past 25 years, we have seen an increasing division and move to extremes in Congress. Over the last 15 years or so, though, through the administrations of President Obama, Trump, and Biden, we've seen continued legislative gridlock leading to increased executive actions, which subsequently were invalidated by the next administration. Finally, prior to last year's presidential election, 90% of Democrats and 90% of Republicans believed that there would be lasting damage to the country if the other side won the election. Many of us describe the current environment as a cold civil war. How can we get people talking to each other again? Well, we know something about civil war. We've been there before, and it has provided the inspiration for our organization's name when, in his first inaugural address, Lincoln invoked the better angels of our nature. He exhorted the country to recall and preserve what made the Union great and worth preserving. We desperately need to hear that message today. We started out as better angels, but as the 2020 election neared, the need for courage to address our country's division increased, and we changed our name to Braver Angels. Simply put, our goal is to bring Reds, conservatives, and Blues, liberals, and others together to bridge the divide so we can work in a more collaborative manner, as well as build understanding, trust, and respect. Next, we're going to show a short video about Braver Angels. It was made when we were still Better Angels. The video.
Sadly, this week, we saw politicians acting like preschoolers again. A meeting that was supposed to be about Syria turned into another instance of name-calling and finger-pointing, and what's worse, this behavior is being mirrored by regular people all across the country. Liberals and conservatives can't talk to each other anymore. It's tearing up friendships and families. I recently found, though, a group that's trying to heal this division. It's called Better Angels, and since 2016, they've been hosting workshops all over the country, bringing folks together to find common ground.
Politics has always been a passionate subject, and we've always had deep political disagreements. That's the way it's supposed to be. But we've gotten to the point where people can't even talk to one another. Americans no longer see their political opponents as simply wrong or misguided. They see them as bad people whose ways of thinking are dangerous and incomprehensible. They see them as enemies. This level of rancor and mistrust threatens our democracy, and it makes it harder for us to move forward as a nation, regardless of who the president is.
The fact that we live in what feels like, some people call it a cold civil war, that takes a toll on all of us.
But it also is an extraordinary opportunity because this deeper project of civic renewal, of healing the relationships that exist between the American people across the cultural and political divides, that's something that can only be achieved through what we call patriotic empathy, this idea that your love for your country is demonstrated in your love for your fellow American. As Braver Angels, we're able to lean into that with courage and boldness.
It will make you feel like we can serve this place, and our country can serve humanity in a way that is actually beautiful and actually does us justice.
This is not a left-wing movement, this is not a right-wing movement, but it is indeed an American movement. We still have it in us to be champions for what is right and what is graceful and what is decent here in the United States.
Next slide. So this is really important. A key point is that our ultimate goal is not to have people change their views on the issues, but rather to change their views of each other. My own experience supports this. I had 2 ongoing conversations with individuals who were read over a 6-month period. During this time, we have spoken about issues that divide us. I can safely say that neither of us have significantly changed our beliefs of the other person. However, we now have a relationship that values the other individual. Their positions are not crazy. They do have thought and logic behind them. We trust each other. We know about each other's personal lives, and we have discovered lots of common ground between us.
So now a little bit more about Braver Angels. Shortly after the 2016 election, as I said before, when political division was as heightened as ever, 7 Reds and 7 Blues were brought together in Lebanon, Ohio, in what was called a Red-Blue workshop to share their political positions and the values that underlie them. The participants learned how to hold respectful and productive conversations, and the result was a reduction in the animosity and the stereotypes between them, as they realized they had more in common than what divided them. The magic of this workshop and the workshops that Braver Angels hosts is marriage and family counseling therapy techniques facilitated by trained moderators. Braver Angels now has grown to over 11,000 members and 40,000 plus subscribers with 77 local alliances in all 50 states. Trained moderators hold Red, Blue, and other similar workshops all over the country. We are volunteer-driven and increasingly are recognized. Excuse me. We're a volunteer organization and are increasingly recognized as a positive force in trying to heal the country. We've expanded our activities into high school, colleges, and even government bodies. We can expand further into retirement homes and senior communities. And we have recently expanded our work into government bodies. One of our founders, Bill Doherty, recently testified before the House Select Committee on Modernization and moderated a Red-Blue workshop between Democratic and Republican House staffers, actually. In a related effort, we've launched a new national initiative called Braver Politics with the goal of engaging public officials at all levels across the country to improve their ability to speak with their colleagues in respectful and productive manners. This is key in order to begin to build trust and create an effective government. So what are the core principles, or what core principles are effective when having difficult political conversations or any difficult conversation? Well, one of the things that we all have to do is model respect, curiosity, and openness, because these values tend to elicit the same from the other person. When you listen to someone else intently, they're more likely to listen to you, and you're more likely to have an open, polite, productive exchange. The next thing is everyone needs to save face. No one should be portrayed as stupid, blind, ignorant, narrowly self-serving, or bigoted. Everybody has a perspective, and everybody has a reason for their perspective. And those things need to be recognized and respected. And probably the most important thing is when you're having a conversation with someone is to build a relationship with that person. And that's essentially what Michael was just talking about with people who disagree with him pretty intently in the political sphere. But Michael and his conversation partners were still able to bond and form a relationship based on common values and common situations, family issues, and maybe health issues and those sorts of things. And if you build a relationship with someone, then those common common values can be unearthed. Okay, these are really important as well. Expectations to abandon. First, don't expect that you can change the beliefs of others. This is tough. Are we? Yeah, there you go. Sorry. Yeah, first, don't expect that you can change the beliefs of others. This is tough. We often think that if we keep arguing long and loud enough, the other person will change his or her mind. Well, I think we've all had that experience, and we know this doesn't work, even though we keep trying to do it over and over again. And it doesn't work mostly because the other person thinks the same thing. And the more you argue with them, the more they become entrenched in their own beliefs. Just like you, the other person has spent a lot of time in their own bubble, and that has solidified their position. So again, the key is don't expect to change the other's mind. The point is to try to establish a listening framework. The other thing is don't expect that the other person will be coming to the table with the same facts that you have, because they probably derive their information from different sources. Finally, don't expect that whoever you're speaking with will match your openness. You may be open to having an honest, polite conversation, but the other person may not be ready yet. It may take several tries with that person, especially if that person is meaningful to you, if it's a child, if it's a spouse, if it's a good friend from, that you've had for many years. They may not be quite ready to take the dive into polite conversation. So you may have to keep, gently trying. But by abandoning these expectations, your own goals for the discussions will change. You will focus more on listening and learning more about the other person and what they think and why they think the way they do. And you will be able to look for areas of common ground, which will further help build the relationship. So we're going to introduce some of the skills now. Some of the Braver Angels skills that Braver Angels practices are tone setting, listening, speaking, and then handling difficult moments. Today, we're going to focus on tone setting and listening, and you will get an opportunity to practice those in breakout rooms. So now Michael is going to go over tone setting.
So let's get started. When setting up tone setting, there's several steps you need to take. Number one, let the other person know that you want to understand other perspectives better. So for instance, I might say, I'm finding myself curious these days about the views of people who are different from the people who think like me. Secondly, ask permission to pose questions. So I might say, can I ask you something about politics and your views on something? Or can I ask you what people in your part of the country are thinking or saying about what's going on in Washington these days? Acknowledge your political stance. As you probably know, I'm a liberal Democrat. So that's the perspective I come from. And finally, offer something critical of your side and credit something positive about the other side. So for instance, as a blue, I think Democrats have been out of touch with a lot of people in rural communities and Rust Belt towns. Trump picked up on that. Or as a red, I might say, I think conservatives sometimes come across as that they don't care about minorities. Liberals have done a better job in connecting with minority groups. Now, you're about to be put in breakout rooms. There will be 2 people to a room. You will have 6 minutes to share, and halfway through, you'll receive a message to switch. When you enter the breakout rooms, you should share names and where you're from. And then you should describe to your partner a divide you would like to bridge. It can be, but does not have to be, political. It can be with your spouse, your children, or your friends, or it can be other situations you'd like to identify. Tell your partner how you might set the tone for starting a conversation given the divide. Then after 3 minutes, you're going to switch. Instructions will be placed in the chat for you to follow as you go through this exercise. But before going into the rooms, you'll have 1 minute of reflection to think about what divide you'd like to discuss and how you would set the tone for discussing it. So now let's go through the 1 minute of sharing, followed by the 6 minutes as you go into your breakout rooms. I'm sorry, 1 minute of reflection, not sharing.
And Luke, are you going to put the instructions in the chat?
Yep, will do.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to enter, and now we're going to be put in breakout rooms, 2 to a room, and share your name, where you're from, and then go into a discussion of tone setting. One person first, followed by, after 3 minutes, the other person. So now we're going to have the 6 minute timer. Luke, can we get the 6 minute timer up there?
Well, no, there's no 6 minute timer. He's just going to put people in breakout rooms for 6 minutes.
Okay, great.
Yes, I have a countdown for 6 minutes myself, but you won't see it.
Okay, great.
Looks like some people are alone in their group.
Some people are what?
I'm going through the groups.
Oh, the breakout rooms?
Yeah, so Luis is alone.
Yeah, I see one. Charlotte, would you be willing to talk with them?
I'd love to. I'll do that
Sure.
right now.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. There's an uneven number.
Or if, yeah, I think some people might have dropped off or rejoined, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're probably early, are we?
In terms of time, let me check. I think we're right about on time.
Oh, good.
To my schedule. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, I left the room because I had no partner. Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, I left my room because there's only one person and I couldn't hear them. And I don't know if she was muted. There was just the two of us.
How much time? Yeah, how much time is left, Luke?
Yeah, just 1 minute. So if you hang out here,
okay.
I'll find you a new partner in the next breakout room.
Great.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
For the two people that were solos in your room, did you think about how you might, about a divide that is maybe plaguing you personally, and how you might set the tone to start a conversation?
About it. Didn't get any response or.
We didn't have time, and then I pressed the wrong button. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That happens.
This is only an introduction, you know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to press
this is
that
a pass-fail class. There's no grades.
Yeah, I was thinking about climate change and how I'm concerned about, fire and drought, and how would be a way to talk to somebody about that issue that doesn't have my same feelings about that.
Yeah. Did you think about how you might introduce that conversation?
I think I might start out something like, well, it really seems to me that there is so much more fire and so much less water, and I don't know what's causing that for sure, but I'm concerned about what's going to happen to my family and my grandchildren. And I just wondered about where you live. Are there any things that you're seeing where you live? I might see something like that.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it's not accusatory. It's showing a concern that you have, and asking them if they have the same concern.
I was wondering about bringing up the general issue of expanding our group to include more of our very diverse community. We are really not getting people in, and I don't know how the others feel about it or whether they're even interested.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's going to be time, a few minutes after this, to bring up your questions and your comments. I think we're there.
We're there. So.
Oh, okay. There, everybody's back.
Yeah. So, Luke, we got everybody back. So, would people who want to share their experiences, any challenges, things that you found particularly difficult, and what, do you want to share what your experience was in your room? Luke, if you see someone raising their hand, let us know.
So I see. Go ahead, Michael.
Esther Giles. You're muted, Esther.
Esther Gillies from the Pasadena.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I facilitate a critical issues group. It's a very popular group at the Pasadena Village. We have about 15 to 20 members that show up once a month to discuss a critical issue of the time. Usually it's taken from a newspaper or something that we've read recently. Members can recommend articles for us to review, or often Mike and I choose an article and send it out a week in advance. Think about this, let's talk about it. The discussions are absolutely remarkable, but every so often we have a member or two, and if I had to describe our group, I'd probably say our chapter, our village is pretty blue. But we do have some red people, but they hide. You don't always know who they are. And sometimes they are so intrigued with what we're talking about in critical issues, they show up, but then I only identify it when they are the silent people. They're not going to take a chance on speaking up. But every so often the members say, we'd like to have a debate. We'd like to have a discussion. We want to know other people, and I've never quite figured out how to make that happen. So this is so timely for me. We can bring together two groups in our organization. We just need a structure that's going to make it very positive and not negative.
Well, thank you very much. And let me just say, there are lots of workshops that we provide that may help you to do that. Let's have time for one more, okay? Because I know we're on a schedule. I'm not sure whether it's Avi or was Avi next? Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, so I find this extremely challenging, and for two reasons, and I'm curious how you all handle this. Because it seems to me, I mean, there are ideological differences, that's fine, or differences of opinion about issues. But these days, there are competing versions of reality based on the kind of media that people consume. And so the basis for a conversation seems very skewed. There isn't a shared sense of what's real. So that seems like a huge obstacle. And the other thing is that beyond like issues and opinions, there are some fundamental principles about honesty or democracy. And I don't know how you have a dialogue about that. So curious how you guys deal with this.
Well, number one, I think what you just said, I've heard exactly the same thing from people on the other side. So they feel like they have, some similar challenges. I think what we went over in terms of expectations to abandon applies to what you just said. There's a saying that you can't hate up close. And what we are seeing, as you know, is people on both sides, with a lot of animosity. Once you begin talking about the issues, even if you can't agree on the facts, there is a relationship that can develop because, again, most of us have more in common than we have that's splitting us apart. Not everybody. I don't know, Barb, do you want to say anything more?
Yeah. Your point about the different facts was interesting because it is so widespread right now that people on all sides, recognize that we're operating on different, based on different data. Braver Angels has a recently formed workshop called Walk a Mile in My News, where a conservative reads news sources offered by a liberal, and then liberals read news sources offered by conservatives, so that each side gets an idea of where their opinions or what databases their opinions are based. And it really helps move the conversation forward. The other point you brought up about, democracy and honesty, I think, this is my opinion, and I've kind of been bringing it into some of the Braver Angels discussions, that people on opposite sides of the political aisle, may have different definitions of terms that we all share. A term like freedom may mean something different to a liberal than to a conservative. For a conservative, freedom usually means the absence of government interference in one's life. Government, stay out of my life. I don't want to be, I need to do the basics. I need to pay taxes and that sort of thing. But the government does not give me rights. Those are natural rights, and I want the government to stay out of my life. Whereas a liberal often sees freedom as access to resources, institutions, and services like healthcare and education and jobs. Those are those are competing understanding of the very same term. So, when we say we all want freedom, we all do, but we don't always mean the same thing. We're kind of getting behind on our timeline. There's going to be more time for discussion, a lot more time for discussion later. So we're going to move ahead in the presentation, and then we can pick up some of this later because you raised some really interesting points. Okay, so now we're going to go on to listening. So these are probably the most important skills that Braver Angels reviews. Listening skills are designed to combat our instinctive tendency to be thinking about our response even before the speaker is finished speaking. So the first skill is paraphrasing. So paraphrasing means repeating back to the person the essence of what you've heard them say. It's not repeating back the same exact, it's not parroting back the same exact words in the same order. It is, in your words, saying back to them what they've said to you. And this helps them feel heard. It's really important when paraphrasing to avoid the instinctive tendency to suggest implications beyond what they actually said. So, something like, I heard you say X, Y, and Z, but what about ABC? It's going to be a kind of a tendency to want to do that, but avoid that tendency. Just repeat back what they've said to you, and then listen for affirmation. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And then also listen for underlying personal values and aspirations and acknowledge them. I'm hearing that for you, fairness is a big issue when it comes to immigration. So usually a statement, when somebody makes a statement about a political position, there's an underlying value that's associated with that position. So acknowledge that you've heard that value and you know what it is. And then the third thing is ask real and honest questions in order to better understand the person's view. For example, you understand, you believe X, Y, and Z about climate change. How do you come to that position? I'm interested in how you come to that position. Show interest in what they have to say and why they have to say it. Avoid gotcha questions like, how could you believe X, Y, Z? You're not going to further the conversation that way. Showing genuine curiosity really helps the other person to open up more. Somebody was saying that when they get red-leaning people in their conversation group, the red people tend to hide. That tends to be true. But if you show curiosity as to what they have to say, they will be more open. And then the last thing is try to bring personal stories into the conversation. Personal stories are very powerful, and then they help us build relationships. So now Michael and I are going to do a second role play, basically on the same topic that we hit on earlier, but we're going to have a more civil conversation.
So Barbara, you'll never guess what I just heard from the town crier. And now I'd like to get your thoughts about it. Is that okay with you?
Sure, what is it?
President Washington plans to ban the use of muskets by women. I'm wondering what you think about that as a woman.
Well, Michael, thanks for asking. I truly think it's a bad idea. Women are often at home alone with the children. We need to have some means of protecting ourselves in our homes.
I see your point. You're concerned about safety when the men are away from home.
Yes, exactly.
A question to clarify your position. Do you believe that women would need access to muskets if there were other means of securing the home?
A good question. Well, security is my main concern, but I guess I also believe that women should have equal rights to that of men.
I see. So you value security and equality.
Okay, so that was a little bit more civil than the last conversation, and it prompted the conversation to continue. So now you're going to get some practice practicing some of those skills. So you're going to go into breakout rooms again with the same partner as the last time. You know, the idea of the last time was just to build a little bit of rapport with your partner. You only had 6 minutes to do it, so I understand not a lot of rapport was built, but hopefully some. This time the session is going to be longer. It's going to be 10 minutes, and you're going to be given a statement from the liberal perspective. Now, if you are conservative, you may feel a twinge of irritation at the statement because this, you're going to have that reaction. Somebody disagrees with me. They're a threat to me. Tamp down those feelings, because your job is going to be to ignore your emotional response and move from reacting to the statement to interacting with your partner. And the two things you're going to do is to paraphrase the statement and identify an underlying value. So we're going to skip over the questions of curiosity because it's a little bit harder. It takes a little bit more time. So prior to entering the breakout room, this time you'll have 2 minutes of reflection to think about how you would paraphrase the statement. And then once you get into the breakout rooms, you're going to share and discuss your paraphrases and the values. And then you can collaborate and adjust the paraphrase if you think it can be improved, or if you found different values. You will receive notification at 5 minutes to switch. So one person goes first, the other person goes second. And the instructions are going to be in chat, and also the statement will be in chat, but I'm going to show you the statement now.
Barbara, can you read the statement because I cannot see?
Yeah, I'm going to read the statement right now. Okay, so this is a statement from a liberal perspective. We have too many guns in this country, and it's too easy for crazy people to get them. We have to change this. It seems to me that very few people have a need for a gun. Okay, everybody got it? Everybody, okay, understand? So you're going to paraphrase and then find a value. Both the instructions of the statement are in chat, and we're going to start the 2-minute timer now, so you have time to think about what you're going to talk about in the breakout room before you get to the breakout room. So everybody's got a pair, huh? A partner.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
Lisa Coleman. I'm one of the speakers later on, and I'm trying to get a little of my day job done. So I asked that I not get paired up,
Oh, okay,
but I'm
that's fine.
enjoying listening.
Oh, good.
Yep, Lisa, I got you.
I appreciated just that extra 10 minutes. Sneak
It
some
does
notes.
help just to kind of get yourself settled. I didn't have anything to eat this morning yet. And about into like the 5th slide, I felt like I was going to pass out. That's when I lost track of where I was. I have some cornbread here that I'm eating so that get my blood sugar up.
I'm realizing that I need to do more talking because I haven't talked with anybody yet today and my voice is sounding hoarse. So I'm going to maybe turn my video off and sing or something so I don't sound like I just woke up. And
or find something to lubricate. When I can't remember what they're called. I had to give a presentation in person on Monday, and the person in my mouth was so dry. It was in San Diego. It was like 90 degrees, driving down there from Los Angeles area. And my mouth was so dry, and I had water and it didn't really help. And he had these, it was Randy Leos, Michael. He had these lozenges. I can't remember what they're called. I'll have to ask him. But one little tiny lozenge just lubricated your mouth for an hour and a half. It was so helpful.
That would be good, yeah, because right now that's not the case. So, all right, well, I'm going to go get myself some more. I'm going to try some lemon tea this time. I'm going to go sing at the top of my honey and lemon and a little bit of ginger because I like a little bite to it. And I'm going to sing with my dog and make sure I put us on mute, and then I will be back.
Maybe you should just stay on camera. I think that may be more fun for people to watch than.
No. Me and the dog will serenade.
Who's a better singer? Who is a better?
Barb, honey lozenges are helpful for what you described. I don't know if that's what Randy had, but
no, they weren't honey. They were some name I can't remember, but started with a C. They were a little spicy. They may have had honey in them. I don't know, but they, it was just a tiny mint-like thing, and it just kept the vocal cords lubricated because my mouth gets terribly dry. I forgot to unanimate some of the slides. That's why I remembered last night, and I sent a message to Kevin, but I don't think the changes got caught up with I don't think the changes caught up to the to Luke.
Yeah, I tried to click through as soon as I could on those. Yeah, I saw the separate bullet points and such.
Yeah, you did fine, and it is totally my fault. I apologize. When Michael and I went through the slides, we went through them in the speaker notes view. So there were slides grabbed from other presentations.
Luke, thanks for all your help and support.
Yeah, and how were we on time? I know we spent a little bit more time on questions.
Let me double check.
We're 53 minutes or 54 minutes now. I think Charlotte had mentioned, to give us an extra 15 minutes. So the presentation is planned for like 105 minutes rather than 90. Hopefully Charlotte is okay with that.
Oh, we should be fine, Barbara.
Yeah, I have that we're in the right timing for this breakout.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I decided to not include that question of curiosity because that can take a lot of time to think of.
Right. No, I think it was a great decision. Boy, I really appreciate the interaction that the participants in the conference have.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we'll have more time for that. We can maybe give a little extra time to questions, and then the last couple of slides is really just, telling them about Braver Angels workshops. We can just tell them that, we can custom design a workshop for them if they need.
Right,
something.
and I think there'll be some time for us to have general discussion at the end.
Yeah, I think we have 10 minutes for that, or 12 minutes schedule. I don't have my time tracker up.
Yeah, I don't either.
Timer on. I don't want to move my windows around too much to bring it up, because I don't want to mess up the configuration I have now that seems to be working.
Yeah.
So after this discussion, then you go next, right?
Right, yeah. Second statement. The conservative one.
Yeah, and yeah, we have in there, I have a feeling this group is more blue than red. So there may be a bunch of people that are triggered. So remember to mention that.
Right. Oh, no. That's no, I was going to. And it might be worth talking a little bit about why reds are so reluctant to speak.
Yeah, I think in maybe the general conversation.
Yeah, right.
We can
no, I agree. And gosh, anybody who's red, we'd love to talk to them, as well as people who are blue. But California is so blue.
I call it systemically blue.
Well, this is a great group.
It is a great group, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we're here. And that question about, talking with, facts and logic, and, so common to get that, especially among my friends.
Well, because we are drawn to the news sources that feed our, feed our emotions, that feed our positive emotions. We don't want to encounter things that we don't want to hear.
Yeah, well, Walk a Mile in My News is very, very informative.
Have you done that workshop?
I haven't done that workshop, but I have been recording like certain more right-leaning news channels.
Oh, yeah.
And watching, and yeah, you get a whole different picture of the world.
Yeah, somewhere in between is probably reality.
Right. I wonder how much more time we have.
I think people are coming back now.
Okay.
Are they? Nope, not yet.
Everyone will be pulled back in 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Hi, Carmen. Were you in a breakout room, or you just joined the meeting? You're on mute. You're muted.
Hi, it's Carmen. I accidentally hit the button to return to the to the main room, so that's why I'm here.
That's fine. Yeah, I was just wondering whether you had just popped in, maybe getting ready for the next presentation or something.
No problem.
I did it by accident too.
Right? I was trying to move the message out of the way.
I feel bad because I don't know if Agnes is out there, but she was finishing up her story and I clicked the wrong thing.
Yeah,
so
I need to find
Agnes.
Yeah, I need to find my partner too and apologize.
I think Zoom needs an undo button.
We can send in that suggestion.
Yeah, Luke, maybe you can send a technical request to Zoom for an undo button.
So Luke, I have in front of me a window. At the bottom, it says open all rooms. Should.
You can just leave that, Michael. I'll handle it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Oh my goodness. So, but that was a very, very interesting topic, and that's a really difficult one that I don't think that we're close to finding good answers for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So we're gonna go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, if you think that was a difficult topic, wait for the next one.
There's so many, aren't there?
Especially in this group.
Is everybody back now, Luke?
Yep, everyone is here.
Thank you. And I do want to say, we keep referencing Luke. Luke is, as you probably know, the technical person working this, and he is magnificent. I think he has ESP. Wonderful. So now we have some time for questions and comments. This was probably even a little bit more challenging than the last exercise. Did anybody want to share what their paraphrase is, or share how things went, challenges, or was it a piece of cake? You can raise your hand.
I see Mary Howell's hand up.
I do not see hands. Let me see if I can. Oh, yeah, sorry, Judy, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I see Judy and then Patrick.
Oh, I had my hand up for a long time, but I think you couldn't see me.
Who is that speaking?
This is Mary.
Okay, we'll let Mary go first, and then Judy, and then Patrick.
So Loretta did really good on her paraphrasing. And then, because we were a little unclear, then I took the position of a more right-wing person. And I would ask her, and she asked a really good open-ended question, what do you think? And then I would reply, and we kind of worked through it that way, with me thinking of, you know, what I would say if I was far to the right. And it was difficult to go through, you know, each step.
Yeah, that's excellent. In the actual workshops, they're usually like around 3 hours. There is time we take each of these steps individually, and so that you get each step down, the paraphrasing, the value, and the question of curiosity. And so we kind of gained a couple of things together in this, just to kind of give you experience with that. But we also do that role play where, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, one person takes a blue perspective, one person takes red perspective, and then you switch. That, just by taking on the perspective of someone that you don't agree with, it does kind of help diffuse your own feelings about that person when you do it enough. Like I said, we have that workshop, Walk a Mile in My News. I was actually thinking of a new workshop for Braver Angels, kind of a Jeopardy game where reds pick, you know, blue topics and blue positions, you know, how, you know, why would they say that? You know, something about climate change or guns or immigration. And then the person on the opposite side of the political aisle would have to give a reason why someone would have that belief. You put yourself into the shoes of someone that disagrees with you, you're forced to think the way they think. And you may come out of it thinking that, you know, that just doesn't work for me at all. Or you may come out of it thinking, you know, they may have a point. I don't completely agree with them, but now I understand where they're coming from. And that's really what these exercises are about. Judy.
So real quickly, my partner and I agreed with the statement, and we couldn't figure out how to be the other side because we didn't have enough knowledge of what the points were that the other side would have.
Yeah. So for this exercise, really, all you really needed to do was paraphrase, whether you agreed or disagreed. You just really needed to paraphrase.
Well, we did the paraphrasing, so.
Okay, yeah, and it's much easier. The next one, you're going to have a harder time. I guarantee it, because it's going to be a statement from a conservative perspective, and it's going to be harder. But yeah, when you agree with the statement, then all the stuff that Braver Angels does doesn't really matter that much, because you already agree. You're already going to walk down the primrose path of, having shared opinions. It's when you disagree that the conversations become difficult. Patrick.
So in talking with my partner, it became pretty clear that often these conversations are nested within a much larger context. And it may be with somebody that it may be a family person or a friend that you have a relationship with, and perhaps a deep relationship with. And so this is but one piece of a much larger area of disagreement, quite possibly. And the challenge is how to kind of wall off a particular discussion without getting dragged into the larger areas of potential disagreement, which can quickly go south and quickly
An excellent point.
Very difficult. Usually somebody, runs out of the room, or it can become an ugly conversation very, very fast if you're not careful. So how do you keep it at a higher level, and how do you kind of wall this stuff off?
So we have a workshop for that called Family and Politics, but just the short version is always be open and curious. There are people that would run out of the room no matter what, because they're just not open at all. But to the extent that you demonstrate that you're just there to listen, it's going to increase the probability that they'll stick around for a conversation. Because again, listening is really the key. And that's why, we started with the tone setting, because that kind of, sets the stage that, I'd like to have a conversation. Do you mind? If the person says, no, I don't want to have a conversation, then just wait until next Thanksgiving, because it's not going to go well. But if they say, yeah, like in the role play that Michael and I did, yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing what you have to say. Then you take the next step and say, I'm curious what you think about ABC. And that sets the stage for the person just sharing their beliefs. And to the extent that you listen more, they're going to be more likely to listen. Time for a couple of more. We have 4 more hands raised. If you can go really quick, and then there's going to be more time for questions later. Esther, and then Eric. Esther, yeah.
For me, the struggle will be to keep in mind what my challenge is in interacting with another person with different beliefs. And that the job that needs to be accomplished is not to change anything, but to understand what is happening. Because the minute I try to change, or I challenge with, well, I think, well, no, this is what you think. We be clear on that. This is what I think. Then we have a platform that we can work from.
You sound like a Braver Angels graduate.
I was going to say, bingo, bingo. You hit bingo.
That is that's exactly where you want to be. Thank you. Eric, and then Dick, and then we'll move on.
So my impression of this exercise was to really fragment or dissect the exchange that was happening, and take this one segment of listening and paraphrase back. So what we encountered in my group was the tendency to leap ahead, and we sit down back to, okay, just paraphrase, and do this as an exercise before you decide whether you agree or disagree. Paraphrase back to them, so that we're really, and this was an exercise to slow our thinking process down, or our assumptions down, and to really create an opportunity for more conversation that is based in reality.
Another Braver Angels graduate. Yeah, exactly. You want to slow things down. You want to, tone down the emotion in the conversation so that you set the stage for actually listening and expressing yourself. So it's really kind of a preamble to the conversation. Okay, Dick?
I want to pick up on what you said. You got two very important points there. One, you got to have somebody who's willing to talk or interested in talking. And secondly, you have to really narrow the focus and maintain the focus and keep it on one particular topic, because if it drifts, you're going to lose the whole thing. And the other thing I wanted to pick up on is what Esther was talking about people in a group and people who have a red politics, speaking up and feeling disrespected or disregarded. And my attitude toward that is I'm willing to listen to them, but I have no obligation to agree with them or to even respect their opinion. If they take offense at that, then they have a problem that I can't deal with.
That's exactly right. You can respect them as a person, but not necessarily agree with their position.
Yes. I have a family member whose character and integrity I respect highly, and his political positions are completely loony, and we still get along.
And that's fine. And that, if that works for you, that's great. Sadly, there are a lot of families where, if there is an agreement, the family member is, put out to pasture. They're like not invited to any family things. Yeah. And I see Jess, who I know, just said when she puts her hand up, it goes away. Jess, we'll call on you first, the next question and answer session, because we're going to do a similar exercise now. Michael?
Okay. So now you'll be sent into breakout rooms one more time. Same partner, 10 minutes. This time you'll be given a statement from a conservative perspective. If you are liberal, the statement may trigger you. But again, ignore your emotional response and interact. Do not react. The instructions will be the same as the last time. Paraphrase and then identifying an underlying value. Prior to entering the breakout rooms, you'll have 2 minutes of reflection to think about your response. Once in the breakout rooms, share your reflections and collaborate and adjust your paraphrases and values if you think they can be improved. So, the conservative statement. I'm beyond upset about the election being stolen from Trump. We won't have a democracy without fair elections, and this one was anything but fair. Okay, let's go to our reflection period and then into the discussion, 10-minute discussion period. Luke, when people are in the breakout rooms, can they hear us?
No, they cannot.
Okay. Barbara?
Yes.
We started at 9:15, so 90 minutes would be 10:45, and then we can go to 105 minutes. So that's an additional 15 minutes.
That's what Charlotte said. She said in our last meeting, she said we had an extra 15 minutes.
So we could go to 11.
Hey, yeah, I'll chime in just based on what I have for my schedule is that we normally we have a break scheduled from 10:45 to 11. So if we eat into that a little, I think it'll still be fine. We can nudge the break. But yes, the next non-break thing is scheduled to start at 11.
Okay. So
yeah, we want to give them, so we probably, so we have another, so this is 10 minutes of discussion. So we'll do the 10 minutes of discussion when they come out of the breakout rooms. That's going to take us to about 10:45. And we'll just whip through the last couple of slides.
Okay, so we won't have any discussion at the end.
Well, the discussion is going to be after they come out of their breakout rooms.
Right, okay. No, I thought there'd be more discussion after that. That's fine.
And maybe you can call on Jess Davis for the first time, Michael, because she had put in chat that when she raised her hand, it went down. I'm not sure why that happened, but.
Jess Davis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I can make sure to spotlight her.
Oh, okay, great.
My guess would she may have clicked on the wrong reaction. Sometimes people get confused and click on the clapping hands instead of the raised hands.
Yeah.
And the raised hand stays up, but the clapping comes down.
Right. Yeah, the clap, that's right. The clap goes down after a while.
Barb?
Yes.
Do you have any time this afternoon to just talk for a little bit, or are you tied up?
I haven't done any work this week.
All right.
For
Okay.
actual work.
Sure.
So.
Okay. No, that's fine.
I mean, maybe like for a quick phone call or something like that, but.
Sure. No, that actually it would be a quick phone call.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you a call in, like once I,
sure,
get a few minutes.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah. No, that would be great. Thanks.
This, Monday, was these presentations came like, one after the other, and I'm like, oh, I have clients that are waiting for me to do stuff.
Right. I saw a question in the chat. How do they sign up for workshops? So you're going to tell them to go to the Braver Angels website, right? Okay, good.
How much more in the breakout rooms? Much more time?
We're just about to hit 5 minutes now. I'm sending out the halfway message.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to hit 5 minutes. So yeah, they won't come out until about 10:45. So we're not going to have a lot of time for questions.
Right. That's too bad. I'd be interested in hearing how they dealt with this one.
We spent more time on questions in the other two, in the last two question sessions, we spent more time than intended.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if Charlotte remembered that she gave us the extra 15 minutes. Because I'm looking at my timer, and I think I set it on the second slide, but we're only like an hour and 21 minutes.
Right. Well, I think we have to be, I wonder if we can chat with her.
You won't be able to chat with her until she returns to the main room.
Oh, okay.
But when she does, you can.
Okay. Do you want to do that while I go through the,
Is she in a breakout room?
Luke, is she in a breakout room now?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Well, we'll just, say that we're, getting close to the break time. I don't know that she'll see the chat.
Two minutes remaining.
I can't remember, Barbara, Michael.
Yeah.
Where, I don't know where I am on the agenda and I don't have it up. So I'm like 11:30 or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Lisa, I have you scheduled at 11:20.
Gotcha.
For 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I knew it was something like that.
And Lisa is the next speaker?
Before Lisa would be Yvette.
Okay.
And
what time does she go? She goes on at 11?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's too bad we don't have more time to talk about this. I just think we need to emphasize that going on the website, they can find all the activities, including the workshops. It looks like in some of these workshops, there's three, or breakout rooms, there's 3 people.
Yeah, there were 3 in ours.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 in ours because Victor has to go. He won't be back. So maybe that's why they.
Yeah, so sometimes there's just an uneven number of people and
yeah,
you end up getting an extra person. That's okay.
It looks like there are a bunch of people who are back already. Patrick, we saw that.
Okay, I think we're.
People
are back?
Yeah, they put us back.
Okay. Michael?
All right. So, okay. All right. So, any thoughts, any reactions to what you experienced in your breakout room? Anybody
I know Jess had a question from before or a comment.
Are you there, Jess?
Unmute. Okay, yes. First of all, what I was saying that maybe the last 2 breakouts we've had, I put my hand up and the hand goes away. So I don't know if I'm jinxed or somebody doesn't like me. I don't know. Kidding. I thought this was a very interesting subject because I've finally realized that I am one of those people who never thought that I could be so staunch in my beliefs. And with that particular question, it was like, nope, 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 I'm not buying this. Nope, 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 nope. So it's very interesting because you do have to see the other side.
Yeah, well, welcome, like I said earlier in the presentation, welcome to the human race.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Just a brief comment. We have monthly debates. One of our debates was fraud in the last election. So we definitely go head on with controversial issues that can spark lots of feelings and discussion. All right, the next one, looking at Marianne.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting in our group that we had 3 of us, and one person said that they didn't think we could ever talk about this. Somebody that had this opinion was kind of a lost cause. And then we realized that if we took the real situation about what makes a fair election and had a discussion on that, put aside the Trump election and all that, and it was stolen, not stolen, and just talk about what makes a fair election, that there was possibility for dialogue there.
Thank you. That's an
excellent
point. Yeah,
great.
All right, let's see, Wayne.
Hi. Patrick and I were having a conversation about values. I mean, we both agreed that we could agree that either side would want a fair election. So that was a value that we both agreed on. And after that, it was really hard to find common ground because part of our discussion was it's hard to argue with someone who doesn't have concrete evidence one way or the other. If they just refer vaguely to they and everyone knows, you know, the kind of the things that Trump does all the time. And without citing specific sources, it's hard to argue. And, you know, you can say, well, all these Republicans said it was fair. And they can come back and say, well, they're all rhinos and we need to get them out of office. And well, why do you think that they're not telling the truth? Well, because they say that they're not telling the truth, you know. So it just degenerates from there. It's like you can't argue with non-specifics and vagueness. So that's where we left it.
Well, I think that's not an unusual response, but again, if you interact more with people on the other side and are curious, there can be some information you garner that makes you realize, you know, why some people feel that way. All right, we have one more, Carol, and then we'll, oh, I'm sorry, we have more than one, but I think Carol will have to be our last one.
Let's just ask Charlotte, do you want us to go on? I thought we had a little bit more time. I thought we had an extra 15 minutes and we won't go on for 15 minutes, but do you want us to continue or do you want us, because I know people need a break.
Yeah, I think that this includes the 15 minutes, the 90. I think let's ask people to be mindful of their share. Let's finish that up. That means that we'll be going a little bit longer. Maybe we'll make up that time later, but I think, as I said yesterday, we're doing what we're doing. It takes time. This is very important. So let's take the people who have their hands up now, and then, but no new hands.
Right, and I'm so grateful for the interaction that we've had.
Yeah, it's been great. Carol?
Okay, thanks. Our group, there were 3 of us, realized very quickly that the 2 main issues were democracy and fair elections. And we thought that the most important thing to do would be to ask the question, what do we mean by these? Because you could very well go off on a long discussion where both of you are talking about completely different things and you don't realize it. So what is democracy? What is a fair election? And then go from there.
That's an excellent point. Thanks for sharing that. Sherry?
So I wanted to make just a comment, if I may, on both of the breakouts in my experience in High Village, LA, and I've been a member for almost 4 years, and we're about to celebrate our 6th anniversary. We have not had a lot of the kinds of interaction that some others of you describe in terms of difficulties in sensitive subjects. I only remember one that I experienced. And I don't know what that means. I know that for me, it would mean that personally, I'm a very sensitive person, and I would have a very hard time discussing gun control or encouraging gun control. I would have a hard time because I would get very emotional just knowing the numbers of people who have died senselessly because of this. And the other final comment I would make is that I thought that first comment was the first statement seemed to me to be generalizations as well as judgmental, which I think is not a good way to start a conversation with a statement that has those components.
Okay, great points. Thank you very much for sharing. Raquel?
Hi. I would share something that's overall that I think grounds, if you can think about based on what we've learned today and just some past experience, if you can think about what is the goal of the conversation you're trying to have. Because some people, even as we've been talking, you start off with argue. And so if you're going in the mindset of argue, you're already going in the opposite direction. And so, some goals, if you can sort of say, okay, we're having this conversation. I think Marianne talked about it. Our village, we're going to do both sides. But is it to inform? Is it to educate? Are you trying to make a decision? That, I think, then guides the intentionality of how you converse.
Yeah.
Is it just if you're at home, is it just idle conversation? Because if it's just idle conversation, you don't need to put a stake in the ground on how you feel, because it doesn't really matter other than it's your opinion. And so I think those are some starting points that in whatever your conversations are, if you can know why are we having this, then use the tools that you've shared. I think that that's a significant enabler to being fulfilled on both sides of people participating.
Raquel, I think I'm sorry. I think you're alluding to what Barbara said about expectations to abandon. I think you're, basically stating what Barbara said, which is very important, because if your goal is to convince, you're going to be very disappointed and walk away disgruntled. If you're curious and you want to understand more, that's a better goal to have. And that was my own reaction when I worked for 6 months with the individuals who were on the other side from me. And it was very helpful. I learned so much. And that is one of the dividends of participating in some of our workshops, especially the red-blue one. Barbara says that's the most popular one, and I agree. You just learn and better understand where the other side is coming from. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
okay.
And Raquel, I agree. We definitely need to have an objective in mind with the conversation. You don't want it to go off track. And if you have an objective in mind, you're better able to, and if that objective is to understand, you're better able to have a civil conversation. We're pretty much out of time. Luke, if you just put up the next slide, you can look at some of the workshops we offer. I put my email address in chat, and Michael, you might want to put your email in there too. Sure. If you're interested in having Braver Angels work with your group, your organization, like the Critical Issues group, we have alliances all over the country. We can, either host one of the workshops that you see on the screen, or we can, kind of custom design an event for you. We also have a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you search for Braver Angels, the Braver Angels channel will come up, and you'll see podcasts and debates that were held, national debates that have attendees across the country. And you can see how we handle debates, which, that are civil and productive. And you really gain a lot of information. The goal of the debate in Braver Angels is not to have somebody win or lose, but to really gain a better understanding of the different perspectives. So, I think that, that's it. The other two slides are just ending slides, not too much more information on them. So I think we will end now so that you guys have a chance for a break before the next speaker. And thank you all for your participation. And again, I really appreciate the participation. That was wonderful. It was very, very endearing. And by the way, in Braver Angels, when I saw Raquel clapping, I appreciated that. But when you want to acknowledge a speaker in Braver Angels, we use jazz hands. So you can do that for the rest of the conference, and nobody will know what you're doing. Alrighty. And Charlotte, again, thank you for inviting us.